world around you.
I see what you mean. Well, I can see that, but don't you think, from the perspective I'm seeing here, and please tell me if I'm wrong, the ultimate source or the absolute source of your peace and contentment will only be realized from your perspective only? Am I right?
Yes, in a sense.
Yeah, okay. Can we then translate that to each and every human individual? Bearing in mind that the reality is that we live in what we consider ourselves to be a society, and where there are going to be different modes of thinking, different modes of action. How would you deal with that?
Yes and no.
Well, tell me the yes and then tell me the no.
Right. The yes, in a sense, is because even though I feel that words are very futile, we can actually have a conversation with each other and sort of remotely understand each other. And see
but when you say words are very futile in the context of human interaction, what other source can we have apart from language?
Zen Buddhism does this by direct pointing. Yeah, exactly.
Should I remain silent while I'm pointing?
Yeah, it could be.
What am I saying? It won't work. Yeah, but I can understand the point of view.
Right. So,
but how do you?
The yes part is for as futile as words are, I do actually believe they're valuable, which is actually the reason why, say, the founder of Taoism, or why he's considered the historical founder of Taoism, but he didn't ever want to be some sort of initiatory figure of, well, we're going to make a new religion. He was not about that at all. Even though he said words are futile, he still wrote the Tao Te Ching. And so I still think it's valuable.
Strange, isn't it?
It's very strange. It's very funny.
Yes.
But I still think talking is good.
Of course.
So here's the no part. I think that even though like religion and philosophy or any form of communication can actually...
Excuse me, sorry, I'm diverting. Are you married?
No.
And you think talking is good? It's okay, carry on. It's okay, just a joke, I threw it in. No offense, no offense. Go ahead.
I think talking is good, and it can actually help and benefit individuals.
Absolutely.
But I think to come to a true understanding, or what you said, like peace within yourself, there has to be an element that completely comes from within, from the individual. And so while you can absolutely benefit from outside sources, there has to be something that is completely within yourself that has sort of little to do with the outside world in order to actually come to that point where your entire world is turned upside down, and you're like,
I can understand,
all right, I understand a whole lot more now, and I'm a lot more at peace.
I can fully see that. But you know and I know that the reality that we are surrounded by and we face has got a fringe element of what we would call or consider to be criminally inclined individuals. We agree with that?
Yes.
Okay. Now, no matter what they associate themselves with, they may consider it Buddhism, Christianity, Islam, whatever it may be. Yeah, don't worry about it. He's just excited. It's oh, sorry. So they will associate themselves with certain things. However, the way I look at it, my perspective here, if somebody asks me what is the true nature of the Creator, I cannot say I know the answer. I cannot do that. However, it does beg this question that, look, I seem to view the world, and it leads me to this conclusion that there was a source that had this whole thing begun. And if I am correct in my reasoning, then that source needs to be known. Don't you think that's a logical question to ask?
Yes, but I don't think it can be known.
Okay, but that can only be based on the assumption. I see what you mean, but that can only be based on the assumption that we have all the necessary answers. Do you?
Oh, no.
Well, if you don't have
absolutely.
If we don't have the necessary answers, then there is a question that yet remains to be answered about the very nature of the Creator.
Right.
Are you following?
I do, but like I said, I regard myself as if I'd have to label myself as a pragmatic mystic.
Yeah.
And so. I personally think, and this is also what I said to Mohammed,
please,
we could have this conversation forever. And the reason why scientists won't talk to you is because they know they could talk to you about this forever and still disagree with you. Whatever. And so, all things considered, I see where you're coming from. I see what you're saying. I don't necessarily disagree, but I also don't necessarily agree.
Yeah, true.
But I take the pragmatic stance. All right, let's find out.
Yes.
And so instead of say what we're talking about, like the creator, like if we're ever going to get there, and I believe we will, for all intents and purposes. If I'd have to pin a point conceptually where we would be, like if we are humanity right now, and we'd have to get that point. Let's say that tree where those people are sitting over there is that point where we reach that knowledge.
Yes.
I'm not very interested in talking about that tree because we're still here. Let's see what's the first step we sort of have to take. And so here's the thing that I'll share with you that I find very interesting. Is I've had a lot of problems with depression and all that stuff. Things in my past have been sort of screwed.
I understand.
I think also that this is like a lot of what that I would call like unconscious atheists, like people who do not believe in God without ever having asked themselves why they hold this viewpoint.
Why they hold the viewpoint.
They just brush it off like religion is all bullshit and it's all to seduce, control the masses. It's like, well, yeah, sure. Religion has been used for to oppress people. We can talk about all of the corruption in the Christian church and all that stuff. But to argue that there haven't been genuine religious experiences and genuine individuals that actually have benefited from taking up religion or entering into spirituality is just complete nonsense to me.
Of course.
And so what's really holding our world back right now is in like healthcare, which I very take personally because if some things in my life would have gone a bit differently, I wouldn't be here.
I understand.
I would have probably ended up in a closed home for like problematic children, or worst cases, I would have ended up in jail. Or another worst case, I would have ended up in a psychiatric ward. Or even worse, I may even have like committed suicide or whatever. And so I think there's a lot of things in say clinical modern psychology and psychiatry right now, like in the world of regular medicine and mental health care, that does not sufficiently come with an explanation of some areas of human experience. And so there's plenty of people who come to a psychologist, think that they can actually be completely open and honest with them, and they'll get this label that they are schizophrenic or whatever, and they'll just pop them up full with pills, and they even go more down the road. And so psychiatry and medical healthcare psychology has been an absolute standstill right now for decades. And the entire industry is sort of begging, we have to change something. And so what's very funny right now is that we banned the use of psychedelics in the 60s. Because we did not know what the hell they were, what they were doing,
and what
the
all consequences
that
were.
But people are still like depression is skyrocketing all over the world. Male suicide
including
is
young
skyrocketing.
Children.
Exactly. There's an epidemic of 14-year-old girls right now cutting themselves.
They're committing suicide.
What they say is that it's probably also a lot due to the influence of social media. It's a very bad thing. And so a thing that I'm very excited about right now is that there's a bunch of universities all over the world and laboratoria that are actually clinically testing people with depression and who are terminally diagnosed with cancer. And they are testing not only with people who suffer from PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, with MDMA, and that seems to alleviate a lot of problems. But more interestingly, because I think that ties a lot more to a bunch of things that we do not understand, they do a lot of testing with people who are terminally ill with cancer, and they do testing with magic mushrooms, so psilocybin. And a funny thing, a result that has come from that is that immediately after such a trip, a terminally ill, it's an 80% chance that a terminally ill cancer patient will say that they are vastly alleviated from their depression and are like 80% less afraid of dying. And so what scientists have a very time dealing with is what they experienced during such a trip.
Okay.
It's like we can say that it's all nonsense what they experience, because there are a bunch of things. People say that they have divine encounters and all that stuff. Scientifically speaking, for now, we do not know what those people are experiencing when they have these trips. And scientists, because they are very afraid of like looking into this dimension, but which is actually changing right now, is they're saying, oh, it's all up in your head, it's all nonsense, it's all bullshit, you're just imagining, you're hallucinating. And it's like, all right, all things considered, let's be scientific about it. We've done this testing. We have like major skyrocketing epidemic of depression and suicide and all this stuff. And people are actually reporting, regardless of whether it is objectively true or real what they are experiencing. We can statistically show that these testings are actually helping people. Why not find it out? And so that is where I am right now, from the viewpoint of as a pragmatic mystic in a sense. And so I think that there were some very interesting developments in the 60s with, say, the use of psychedelics such as LSD and mushrooms and all that stuff. This is also what I said to Muhammad. That doesn't mean that I endorse hedonism. I think that's very bad. We have to do things responsibly. And these psychedelics, I do not think they are tools for entertainment. I think they're genuinely, you could call them like sacred healing tools. I think they have been used for thousands of years by a lot of cultures that are no longer around right now. I mean, people in the Amazon and all that stuff. It's also a big thing right now. Is the drinking of ayahuasca, which is actually skyrocketing right now in popularity right now.
It is.
And so for me, it's like, all right, what we've had right now, like with the scientific revolution, which I think started, say, with Copernicus saying that it's not that everything in the universe, like all of the planets and the sun, all that stuff, is orbiting around the Earth. Scientifically speaking, we are orbiting around the sun. That was like a huge shift in perspective. And so right now I feel that, say, the moon landing is not as impressive as what Copernicus did. I mean, as soon as we knew that, it's like, all right, so now we know how our things work.
Able to take
now we're going to the moon. I think that over 80 years we can go even further and go to another planet. It's like, why would we want to go there? I feel that the next step in a true revolution for humanity is understanding the mind.
Of course.
And so for me, it's like we are completely in the dark and blind when it comes to what happens when a terminally ill cancer patient takes magic mushrooms. Of course. And has this experience and is better off of it for the rest of their lives. For as long as they are blessed to have a beating heart. You know?
Absolutely.
And so for me, it's like, kind of zoom in on that. That's
absolutely, I can understand. Where, can I just ask, how old are you?
23.
You are 23, young man. I tell you what, Bar, you know, the way I look at things, as a whole, just to come to a sort of conclusion, as a whole, I look at life, and the realities of life are what you just described for the past few minutes. About how people are affected by depression, how they're affected by a huge amount of what we would call psychological attacks, which results in them taking certain courses of action. Thankfully, you are out of that particular dark place you were, but the reality is that it is there. Assalamu alaikum. How are you? Alhamdulillah, you're right. The reality is that it is there. I would want to come across a system in totality which will be able to deal with all that plus some more. And I will tell you this, Bar. Have you read the Quran?
No, but I will.
I'm going to give you a gift if you don't mind.
Sure, I love to.
Muhammad, can I have a Quran, please?
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm giving my brother a gift.
Why not?
Yeah,
The best gift you can
Yeah.
Right, that's a good one.
that's a
Thank
gift
you.
from you, sir.
Thank you.
From me to you, sir. I
Thank
said
you.
from you. Okay. No, you are most welcome. Yeah.
Yes,
in a
please.
glass.
It's been a pleasure
Grab a
speaking
glass.
to you, and carry on your journey, Bear.
I will.
Yeah, don't
I will.
stop on it. Okay.
The funny thing is, this is the first time I've been here, like wearing this thing.
Yeah.
And so I talked to Mohammed without wearing this.
All right,
And then
okay.
at the end of the conversation, was like, "So, what are you? Are you an agnostic?" I'm like, "No."
That's
Can,
good.
can I
That's-
tell you? Can I tell you a funny story though?
Yeah, of course you can. Of course you can.
So what I feel, what it boiled down to, right? This is a very holy book, so I'm going to put it away instead of.
Yeah, please. Thank you. Alaikum salam. How are you, brother? Alhamdulillah. You okay? Good. Salam alaikum. Alaikum salam. How are you?
Came all the way from Liverpool just to.
Well, alhamdulillah, to come here and have a. Yeah, absolutely.
Saw you, boy.
I can tell by the accent. Alhamdulillah. They'll all be here, inshallah. Yeah. He'll make your day. Yeah, sorry.
So what I closed off with in my conversation with Mohammed was that ultimately I felt that what it basically boiled down to was whether we can explain the entire universe.
Right, okay.
And I'd been saying that this is impossible. That the true understanding, that the true working of things can't possibly ever be put into words.
Yeah.
As soon as you put it into words, it becomes something different than what the true nature of actually the things are. And so I basically close off with this.
Right.
Because by that time, a lot of other people chipped into the conversation.
course, yeah, and then it
started
loses
talking
its
to
way.
him and
Yeah.
all that stuff. And I said, all right, Mohammed, speak with these all other people, but before I go, and I have
Yes.
50 minutes left, I'd like to ask you one question and then tell you a little story.
Yeah.
And so there was this little window of time where I could ask my question. I said, all right, all things considered, Mohammed, because I think personally, in my viewpoint, it all boils down to this. Do you think that the universe can be explained? And he had a big smile on his face. He said, yes. I said, well, that's our disagreement. I think
Right.
we can put things into words.
I see.
And then I added to that, right? That doesn't mean that I do think we should not use words, because
obviously.
otherwise it's like, then why do Zen Buddhists talk then? And obviously I really like
Point.
speaking. And
Yeah.
so what's funny is that you have all these stories in Zen Buddhism, and they are very direct. There's like a point to them, but as soon as you have to explain the point, you destroy the story. You destroy the point
I
of the
see what
story.
you mean. Yeah.
And so I said to Mohammed, well, right, I don't think I can ever come across, explain to you how I experience things and how I view things and all that stuff for the sole purpose of not being able to put it into words.
Yeah.
But I can give you a funny story as an illustration. So there's this story of a Zen Buddhist master and his student.
Okay.
And then the student walks by, the student and the master have this lesson, and they're describing the nature of reality.
Yeah.
And at some point, the master picks up a stone, and he comes to the student and he says, "What is this?" And the student says, "That's a stone." He says, No, what is this? "Oh, that's a stone." And the master says to the student, "No. Stone? That's a sound. This?
Is this?
This is this."
Yeah.
Right. Second day.
Yeah, okay.
Second day.
Yeah.
The student comes to the master. The master picks up a stone. He says to the student, "What is this?" The student is silent. He doesn't respond. The master's very happy because he
Yeah.
got the point.
Okay.
All right. Then the third day, the student comes to the master. The Zen master, all right, no. That's the wrong thing. On the third day, the student is just walking on his way to the master.
All right.
The master is hiding somewhere. Then suddenly, the student gets hit by something, and he's really hurt. And he turns around and he sees the master laughing at him. He says, "Master, what did you just do?" And the master responds, "I just threw a stone at your head."
Okay.
Do you understand?
No, I don't understand. Tell me.
I'm not going to explain it. No, I'm going to destroy the thing.
But then how am I going to understand if you aren't going to explain?
Yeah, I think you missed the point by me screwing up the third day.
You did.
Right,
You did.
right. So
it happens.
I'm not supposed to do this.
It happens. Go on.
If there are any Japanese and Buddhists around here
Don't
right
worry.
now, they would
are
actually.
not listening.
So the thing is he's on the first day he asks the student what it is,
Yes.
and he tries to teach the student that what he says an object is never the object itself.
Yeah.
And so on the
Its
second
true
day,
nature is not what you claim
exactly,
it to be.
it's not the word. And so on the second day, the master tests the student in order to see if he understood it.
Yeah, the point.
And he doesn't respond, so he gets the point.
Yeah.
Then on the third day, the master throws a stone at its head.
Yeah.
The student says, "What did you just do?" And he said, "I just threw a stone at your head." And so what you see first is the lesson of the word is not the object itself.
Yeah.
On the second day, the student understands that and he doesn't respond. But on the third day, the master sort of comes full circle and uses the word to describe a thing that he has previously taught the student that he shouldn't use to describe the object.
Yeah.
And so this is actually a sort of very formal, a very direct way of showing that even though words are futile, doesn't mean we shouldn't use them.
Absolutely, of course. No. I fully understand. You know, taking everything into consideration, the one thing you will find bare is this, that every human being is going to have their journey to the ultimate, whatever that may be according to their subjective experiences. But there is, like I said earlier on, there is a system which is of divine origin. I'm not specifying what that divinity is, but there is a system of divine origin, and it is incumbent on every human being to actually search for that. However they want to search, that is entirely their decision. But there has to be something which can deal with the subjectivity of the human being and the objective reality that he is faced with. And that is what I would think.
I totally agree.
Pleasure speaking to you, sir. Anything untoward said, please do forgive me. That was not the intention. But you carry on with your journey, my brother.
You too, man. You too.
Look after yourself.
I'm a Norwegian Muslim convert and I have a question about Islam. Can you help me answer it? If I made some food and gave it to my neighbors, would I be rewarded for that? I hear you saying yes. But what if I gave the gift of Islam to someone, like someone gave to me? Don't you think that would give me more reward than the food? Of course. Brothers and sisters, we have purchased a property to establish a masjid in the capital of Norway. By supporting our masjid, you will inshallah gain the reward for gifting Islam to our community. Imagine the children memorizing the Quran, the lines filling up for the prayers 5 times a day, the non-Muslims discovering the beauty of our deen. Subhanallah, all of that reward can be yours for a small donation. Allah said, believe in Allah and His Messenger and donate from what He has entrusted you with. So those of you who believe and donate will have a mighty reward. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, whoever builds a masjid for Allah, Allah will build for him a similar house in Jannah. Click the link to help and gain the mighty reward promised by Allah. Also, please help us reach more people by sharing the video. May Allah grant you a palace in the highest level of Jannah. Ameen.